Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
We like that.
You like that?
I just said that we liked it.
You like that?
And we like you guys, the Purple Daily audience. December football here. Vikings coming off a bye. They got the Raiders on Sunday. And we are here for some daily Vikings entertainment, a State of the Offense edition of Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. And boys, before we dive into the Josh Dobbs discussion here, maybe even a little quarterback speculation, a random Viking of the week, let's shout out our friends over at Sound Story. So Sound Story, we've been telling you guys for a couple weeks. Joe Buck even came on, and he's been a part of Sound Story these last couple of years. So this could be the perfect holiday gift for you. Somebody just hit me up on Twitter and asked if I could perhaps be the professional, quote unquote, interviewer that sits down with their loved one. And that's what Sound Story is. It's a professionally produced hour-long conversation where we capture the stories, the memories of the different highlights and milestones of someone in your life's timeline. Think of it as a podcast professionally produced with a professional interviewer. You can choose me at mysoundstory.com if you go to the Minneapolis section, and we will have recorded conversations with that loved one that you can preserve for generations in your family. Sound Story starts at just $3.99, but you can go to mysoundstory.com and enter the promo code PURPLE to get the holiday special of 10% off a gift certificate. That's promo code PURPLE at mysoundstory.com to get 10% off a gift certificate. Sound Story, for you, for them, forever. Josh Dobbs might not be forever the Vikings starting quarterback, but he will be against the Raiders this weekend. So instead of going through all the different state of the offense stats that we did last Thursday, because it's all pretty much the same, I just want to have an open discussion with you guys here, starting with this question. And we can get to some of Kevin O'Connell's quotes and what he said, but is it the right decision to turn back to Josh Dobbs as the Vikings are going to do against the Raiders?
So I don't know, but I am fine with it because, and here's why I'm glad that O'Connell didn't string this along like some of his predecessors certainly did, and why some coaches to this day would do this. You know, you'll find out on Sunday who we bring out. But I think given the circumstances that the Vikings are in currently with their quarterback situation and the fact that they had a bye week after the very disappointing loss to the Bears, I trust that O'Connell had time to sit down, as he talked about in his press conference, and Dobbs talked about this too on Wednesday, and watch film and sort of consider things, consider the best option, consider what both sides did wrong. Like, Dobbs had a terrible game, but O'Connell didn't call it a great game. Yeah. And I think it was our friend Dave Campbell from the Associated Press. One of the first questions to O'Connell after he made the announcement on the quarterback was, Dave tried to phrase it very diplomatically about, did you just have a bad game calling plays for him or not feature him? And Kevin did a really good job of sidestepping that question. But there were indications that he did agree with Dave and that it wasn't his best game. And so the one thing is, you know, when you get to this point, right? Your starting quarterback is out, and there's a bunch of teams in the same predicament. Your starting quarterback is out, and now you're sort of faced with this, okay, we acquired this guy in a trade. He's really a career backup. We've got Nick Mullins. He's really a career backup. And Jaren Hall is a project. I honestly don't think Jaren Hall was a part of this discussion. That's my personal opinion. But when you're at that point, in time, I'm going to trust that a guy like O'Connell is going to basically try to make the call that he feels is the best, and that it's not going to be this like, oh my God, how could you not start Nick Mullins? He's so good, right? Yeah. So I've always thought, one, this is a very difficult situation as a coach to be put into, but two, that it's not as if there's a great option here. You know, to go back to what we talked about with Patrick earlier today. You know, when it was Brad Childress trying to pick between Tavares Jackson, Brooks Bollinger, and Kelly Holcomb, right? Brad would act like it was this, you know, we'll tell you on Sunday, rocket, you know, this is I'm a rocket scientist. No, it's not a great option. These are not great options. So I do think it's smart if O'Connell basically went back to the drawing board, is now communicating with Dobbs, and they're just trying to come up with a game plan that can at least work for Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's smart to just stick with Dobbs here, at least for another week. The Vikings, although are in a jammed pack NFC wildcard picture after losing the last 2 games. Is that Stella or is that Maya?
That's Maya.
That Maya? Maya has some takes on Dobbs.
Maya's not happy about this.
Maya's more of a Nick Mullins kind of gal, I think.
Maya, it's not time for the Nutrisource read yet. Just calm down, okay?
You know what I heard? I heard Maya took a bath on Vikes Bears. And that she bet a lot on that game and it cost her, and she's still mad about it. That's what I heard.
She always bets. She also lost. She bets against the Bears. She always bets the dogs, Georgia, right. And she thought they were going to get to the playoff, and so
join the club, Maya.
Too. Yeah. Well, who doesn't
join the
bet
club?
The dogs.
I lost.
She's got the Huskies still, but she lost the dogs.
Declan really lost.
Yeah, I lost money over the weekend on the dogs too, so I completely understand that. But I think it's important just to stick with Dobbs here, and I liked how honestly open both Dobbs and KOC, where I went back and read most of the transcript. I didn't watch a lot of the press conference, but I read most of the transcript of the presser and how both Dobbs and KOC sat down to figure out ways to be better. And they watched a lot of film together. And yeah, I think KOC probably knows that he didn't call maybe the best game for Dobbs, but also Dobbs does have to be in the position to make plays and make throws that KOC called upon. So I think it's the right move sticking with Dobbs for now. You had success. You get your star wide receiver back too, so you get to see how Dobbs plays with Justin Jefferson. So for now, yeah, I don't think it was like an earth-shattering move to stick with Josh Dobbs, the quarterback out of the bye.
I think I agree with something Judd said a few minutes ago, which is like, we can sharpen this pencil all we want and like, oh my gosh, was it the right decision, wrong decision? There is no great decision here unless Kirk Cousins can find the magical well that Aaron Rodgers has supposedly been, soaking his Achilles in the last couple months. They don't have like another starting level quarterback. Now, Dobbs at his best, which is what we kind of saw against Atlanta and New Orleans. Like, if you could just take Josh Dobbs at his best, that would be awesome, because then you get this super mobile, athletic dude who can make plays down the field, who can do these dynamic things that Kirk really can't. But what we're seeing is, sometimes the difference between a backup quarterback and a starting quarterback is the mistakes that you don't make. And he has been literally from like the minute he stepped on the field in a crazy emergency and unfair situation in Atlanta, where he sort of takes the panic safety and then he throws a panicked interception. He recovered in major fashion. Mm-hmm. So, we've seen that he can shipwreck a game like pretty much no one we've seen play quarterback for the Vikings in a long time. And we're so used to Kirk Cousins, who rarely will shipwreck a game like that. But, I think it's fair to say he's not going to be like the long-term answer at quarterback. Like any speculation we dove into about, okay, if he keeps playing this way, maybe there's like a Geno Smith contract to be had. I think we're kind of past that at this point. But it is fair to say Justin Jefferson's coming back. Okay, you're going to get this amazing weapon that you didn't have access to for the first month. And I want to read you some of Kevin O'Connell's comments. Maybe O'Connell, after spending 2 weeks, deep breath, bye week, self-reflection, maybe he's going to be able to mold this thing a little bit more to Josh Dobbs' strengths. So this is what the Star Tribune wrote yesterday. After the Vikings arrived at their bye week with an unceremonious 12-10 loss to the Bears, Dobbs texted O'Connell asking if the coach had time to review the game film of that Bears game. And O'Connell's like, all right, yeah, that's if you want to watch that again and we can make our eyes bleed. So they sit down together, and the meeting became kind of an unhurried study of the Vikings offense, and the team simply hadn't had time to conduct such a study since Dobbs came in on October 31st. It's all just been like, we got to go. But it also provided a setting for a candid conversation about Dobbs' place in the offense. Kevin O'Connell said, quote, Here's what I said I'm going to do to Josh. I'm going to study what this inventory of plays looks like. I appreciate spending some time with you, Josh, to get some clarity on exactly where you're at within the offense right now. Things that maybe we can do to help you incorporate to make you feel as comfortable as you possibly can within the offense, because there's 10 other guys out there that also have to feel comfortable with what we're doing. And then I articulated to him, KOC said, hey, I'm going to go through a process. The same process that led us to really feeling strongly about going to get you in a trade is what we're going to go through to evaluate what's best for our football team in terms of the play sheet. I believe when you communicate that way, regardless of the answer, it's about looking people in the eye and telling them the truth. So out of this, it sounds like the Vikings are going to give Dobbs more shotgun snaps this week, more hurry up offense, which, I mean, that's what was successful the first couple games is not necessarily like hurry up in terms of, there's benefits to keeping the defense on the field and they can't call plays and twists and whatnot, but it's also KOC gets more time in the hurry up to talk to Dobbs in the headset until the headset cuts out at 15 seconds. So,
and defenses can't adjust.
Yep. So
Can't sub personnel necessarily.
I'm okay with all of this logic. Okay, we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to go in. We're going to mold some things. We're going to try it.
Yep.
But if he recklessly takes another, if he takes another intentional grounding or throws a bad interception, I'm also telling Nick Mullins, hey, man, just be ready. Be ready
KFC
on the
said that
second
too.
series of the game. Yep.
Like early in his comments on Wednesday, he said exactly that. Like he basically said, Nick Mullins will be standing by me.
Yes.
And he will have a parachute on so we can throw him right in. But I think there's so Kevin also brought up, and I found this to be intriguing, was he also said, and he's right, that when you went back and looked at the film of the Bears game, there was a lot of culpability on offense to go around. So like it looks like Dobbs and as Booney and Jeremiah Searles told us on Trenches on Monday or Tuesday, coaches can't see, like you're on the sideline, right? So you're calling plays, you're constantly trying to come up with a new play, and you don't have a all 22 view. So like you don't see a lot of things.
Yeah.
So O'Connell said, yeah, I sort of watched the film, and yeah, Dobbs was not good, but the rest of my offense and probably his play calling as well was not great. And so I think that plays a role. And I'll give you like a small thing that I think is a big thing when you don't have a quarterback who you can entirely trust. Okay. And I don't mean to pick on this guy, but it's so simple. Alexander Madison, and go back to the play where Jeremiah and Booney broke it down, right?
Yeah.
And there's a big hole there, and it's first down, I believe. And he, instead of going right through that hole and taking what's there, he decides to bounce it outside. And now he gains like a yard or something. Okay.
Yeah.
So now the next play doesn't work out as well. The whole thing is screwed up. So now you're putting Josh Dobbs.
3rd and 9, 3rd and 8.
Exactly.
They know you're going to pass. Yeah.
I'm not absolving him, but I'm saying if Alexander Madison on first down does the right thing, which Josh Dobbs needs him to do. Yeah. So like that's where it's probably not fair. And we all, including me, blame QBs because it's the simplest thing. But that's the type of thing. The other thing I'd like to clarify, and I don't know if you guys agree with me on this or not, but I feel like there's been this whole thing about, well, the choices were Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, or Jaren Hall. Because Jaren Hall for a series and a half in Atlanta looked good. Number one, I think, again, what Alex and Jeremiah said is probably locker room wise correct, which is if you had gathered the team on Monday and said, okay, boys, I've been thinking this over and we're going to Jaren Hall. In the mind of veteran players, that is basically saying we are going to take a look at a guy because I don't trust us now. I basically think the playoffs are a pipe dream and I don't trust us.
And you're past the point of tanking now, right? It's December.
Oh God, yeah. And you can't do that to veterans now. Like you can't.
Not now.
And fans are going to say, but hold on a second. I saw Jaren Hall play against the Falcons and he looked good. And I think the answer is this. Everyone in that room knows that when you took Hall as a 5th round project QB, there was never an intention to play him. He only played because Mullins was hurt. So I don't think that as O'Connell contemplated this decision, I don't think, in fairness to anyone, probably including Jaren, that he was ever in the mix. I think this was solely a Dobbs-Mullins decision that landed on Dobbs.
Yeah. Yep, I think you're right about that. But is there a world where, just to explore this for a second, Jaren Hall looked pretty competent in the, 2 drives before he got knocked silly with the concussion?
He did.
I agree with what those guys, Jeremiah and Alex, were saying, which is if you've got Nick Mullins has started a bunch of games in the NFL before. He was the backup to Kirk for 2 years. He's a capable, competent backup. So you know that he's a professional, that he's done it before. And then Dobbs looks super dynamic. So I understand what they're saying, which is like, oh, we're going to turn to this rookie. But is there a chance that Jaren Hall, who's also been studying this system now, going back to OTAs and mini camps, and by all accounts is making progress, could he actually be the best option for the Vikings? I mean, Brock Purdy stepped into a really good car. I'm not saying the Vikings car is the same as the Niners was last year, but
Right.
Brock Purdy was drafted later than Jaren Hall, and he stepped in with kind of like a little bit undersized, some mobility, but hey, you got weapons, you got a great left tackle. You know, are we overlooking Jaren Hall in terms of like who's the best guy to generate wins in December and January?
So I think the answer to your question might be yes, but here's the problem. I think the political hot potato that this would become internally is why, like, Brock Purdy had to start. San Francisco was at the end of their rope, and the Vikings in Atlanta were sort of the same thing, right? So I think the opportunity to say, hey, you know what, Jaren Hall, let's start him. Let's see, we have to. I think that's passed. I don't think, like, among the most important things that it's my opinion that fans and media don't consider enough are team and locker room dynamics. And so I think that Jaren Hall, to answer your question, the answer might be yes. To start Jaren Hall would be sending a message that I think we don't appreciate enough, would be waving a white flag in some ways. That's the thing, is this becomes political. This becomes a, hey guys, support Jaren Hall, and half the team is like, hold on a second here. If we're going to take a look at 2024, what the hell have we been doing rebounding from a 1-4 start? That's where this gets like, and look, fans and our show can argue that. I'm fine with that, but I've always thought the most important and incredible dynamic that is hard to consider is how actual professional athletes feel about things.
And the dynamic of the locker room's for sure important, but the most important thing in 2024 of the quarterbacks is centered on Jaren Hall. Like, Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins aren't necessarily really part of future plans as a franchise quarterback. Like, Dobbs has been fun, and he could be a stopgap option, but he is not a franchise QB. It's the mystery box and the ceiling of Jaren Hall of, hey, if this guy could step in the last 6 weeks of the season, take them to the playoffs, hell, maybe they win a playoff game, you potentially have your quarterback question answered long term. Where Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins, in my opinion, do not provide you that, no matter what. If it's a wild card berth and out, or you miss the playoffs, Jaren Hall, in my opinion, is the one you have a situation where you can actually answer a very important question at the most important position in football.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I think, like, if you were to put a percentage on each of these three guys, so Dobbs, Mullins, and then Jaren Hall, what's the percentage chance that they are the solution for you 2024 through 2026, let's say, at quarterback? Mullins is a 0%, right? He's a capable backup. What percentage would you put on Dobbs and Jaren Hall? Both you guys. Is it more? Is it 5%? Is it? I mean, Jaren Hall's not high either. But to Declan's point, it's like we haven't ruled him out yet because he hasn't been a journeyman across 6 teams in 5 years or whatever.
But Dex's point is how fans and media think. That's what I'm saying. O'Connell and the Vikings themselves are stuck in a catch 22 because players don't think like Dex thinks. Like,
if they lose to the Raiders, to me, here's what I will say: if they lose to the Raiders and now they've lost 3 in a row, now they're out of playoff position. I mean, they would still be right there.
That's the issue.
But if let's say Dobbs plays like absolute garbage again, and you've just like, okay, that was super fun. We're always gonna remember the Falcons game. That was a blast. The Pastronaut, all right, whatever. By the way, scorenorth.com/shop to get your Pastronaut hoodies. It's great. They're very well designed and they're very creative. But if they lose and he plays like garbage, I would then start Jaren Hall against the Bengals. I don't need to see Nick Mullins. And as my playoff hopes get a little bit lesser, the gap between like Nick Mullins and Jaren Hall, if there even is one, it wouldn't be that insulting to the locker room. Like, I think right now it makes sense. Okay, Dobbs, let's try it one more time. But if he comes out, fumbles twice, throws a couple picks, you lose to the Raiders, I'm starting Jaren Hall against the Bengals so I can watch him for a month before I have to hit the offseason and make a bunch of big, like, organizational decisions. Is that fair?
100%. That's exactly what I would do.
It's fair to me, but I don't think he'd do it. I don't think
would they go to Mullins?
I think they would have to be out of a playoff spot to start.
But they probably won't be for the next.
I know. That's the
I guess
issue.
I don't think they're going to lose the next 2, but I also didn't think they were going to lose to the Bears at home. So
I totally get what both of you guys are saying, and I don't disagree with it. I'm just saying that I found it interesting that two guys who played basically said, hold on a second. You're telling me now that, there's nobody in that room right now who cares from a player standpoint about 24. Nobody.
Right.
So that's
but
the thing
Jaren
is,
Hall wouldn't be all about
they don't want to look
24.
I don't disagree. I think players disagree.
You think so? They saw him play. They saw him. They drove right down the field. I mean, we don't. The problem is we don't know what the practice vibe is because we can't.
Josh Dobbs looked great in the Falcons game. Like that's the thing about it is what's sustainable. This all comes back to one thing. When you're in the predicament that they're in right now, it pretty much sucks.
It does suck.
It just does.
Which is why they're like in the face of no great options, you might as well choose the one that's at least like after the Dobbs game here. You might as well choose the unknown option, which is what Declan was saying.
It wouldn't bother me one bit. I just don't think O'Connell. I don't know what he can sell or not. But if they basically fall out, yeah, I'd start Jaren Hall for sure.
Do you want to speculate even more recklessly here?
It's Thursday.
Reckless speculation.
All right, let's do this.
I want a mock.
Let's go 6 months into the future here, or not 6 months. Man, time flies. More like 4 months into the future, like the lead up to the draft. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm just grabbing this mock draft from Pro Football Network. There's any number of mocks you grab. The Pro Football Network has a mock draft hot off the presses here this morning. In fact, 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. 5:30 Central Time. This thing came out. I wonder if they scheduled that, or if somebody was just like,
release.
You think so?
That's a schedule.
That's scheduled. No one got up and hammered it out at that hour.
Joe Broback, he doesn't sleep. He waits to click send on Pro Football Network.
Joe, when are you coming to bed? I'm not.
Sorry, honey. I'm mocking.
I'm not, and I don't care. It's our wedding night. I'm in here mocking.
But honey, okay. Here, my question for you is, what would you do if you're the Vikings here, if the draft plays out this way?
All right, cool.
So actually, number one, the Chicago Bears take Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame, which is super interesting that they would say, we're going to stick with Justin Fields and go get some offensive line help. We'll see. See if that happens. So that means the Patriots then take, this is crazy, the Patriots would take Drake May, number 2, and then Caleb Williams would fall number 3 to the Cardinals. Now, there have been some questions about Caleb Williams in terms of the way he's been handling these losses. And, he's had a little bit of a tood at the podium after some of these losses. So, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that, like, after the first 3 picks, both May and Caleb Williams are off the board in some fashion, maybe not this way. And then Joe Alt or the Penn State tackle could be like the third guy in the top 3. So it's not that far-fetched. Okay. Then you go down Marvin Harrison to the Bears at 5. That would be great for them if they could. They could land another great wide receiver. And then the third quarterback comes off the board. 11 to the Raiders, Jaden Daniels. So this is we did a mock with Doogie on Minnesota Sports with Mackie and Judd, one of our other podcasts. And Jaden Daniels was the third quarterback off the board for PFF too. So that's becoming more of a prominent thing. Okay, let's keep going here. Fourth quarterback off the board, 19th to the Falcons, Michael Penix from Washington. Mm-hmm. And so you're the Vikings now. You're sitting at 21 in this mock draft. And they have the Vikings, instead of taking like the 5th quarterback off the board, and they don't have trades here, taking Jared Verse, the edge rusher from Florida State, who has like 9 sacks and has been wreaking havoc. So with Danielle Hunter set to become a free agent this offseason, the Vikings most likely look elsewhere for his replacement. Lucky for them, Florida State defensive end Jared Verse should be around when they pick. If it plays out this way and 4 quarterbacks come off the board, now J.J. McCarthy is still sitting out there, Bo Nix, there's a pretty deep list of quarterbacks here. Would you look to trade up, or would you say, you know what? No, we could use an edge. Let's stand pat. Because we went through this exercise with Doogie where he said, what did the Chiefs give up to go? Now, they went from 27 to 10.
Yep.
If the Vikings wanted to move up from 21 into the top 10, it's a future first-round pick. It's another, like, second or third-round pick this year or next year. What would you do if 4 quarterbacks come off the board before it gets to 21? Would you look to be aggressive and get up in front and grab the 3rd or 4th guy? Or would you just sit and grab an edge rusher or another position?
Have I decided to let Hunter walk and am I trying to re-sign Kirk? Because I'm not taking an edge rusher if I keep Hunter or if I know I'm going to.
I would potentially keep one. I would potentially still draft an edge,
And
even
keep
with
Hunter.
a Daniil Hunter. I mean, they have next to no pass rushers, man. Like who is their number? Even with Daniil Hunter next year, let's say he's signed. Who is their second best pass rusher on this team right now?
Well, Wanham's a free agent, right?
Yep.
So
But here's your issue.
they don't have one.
Okay. Let's say if Kirk, okay, so are you now trying to keep Kirk?
This is what sucks about the whole scenario. You might have to make that decision a month and a half before the draft, right?
But you're gonna know but you're gonna have a good
will.
idea of what
Yeah.
people want. You're
But
gonna
you
have
won't know how the draft plays out. Like I'm saying, you're gonna have to make a decision on Kirk before you know whether 4 quarterbacks come off the board in front of you.
right,
or not.
but you can actively but if you make a decision and you re-sign Hunter and let Kirk walk, then you start to actively try to do what you just said, Phil, which is move up in the
trading up.
draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't love committing. I don't love going into the draft committing to, okay, we desperately have to trade up. Because then if the board falls, let's say other teams are doing it too, and the board falls quarterback, and then like 2 other quarterbacks in the top 8, which could easily happen because teams get crazy. Now, what's the price to go from 21 up to 7 or something for the 4th?
Well,
This is where you'd like to leave your options open, but you might be boxed in.
right, but we're also talking about the potential for a decision of drafting a quarterback in the top 10, and if you do that, you are saying to your team, this is our quarterback, like immediate, like this is our guy.
But see, wouldn't it
hopefully
be
for
nice
10 years.
as part of this equation? Wouldn't it be nice? Because again, Kirk's a free agent. Let's say you decide, hey man, sorry, like even at a discount, we got to bring Daniil back. We got to find room for a Jefferson contract, a Darisaw contract. We can't do it. Thank you so much. And Dobbs is a free agent and a backup, right? Wouldn't it be nice to know over the next month where Jaren Hall sits in all this? Because if Jaren Hall were to play really well for a month, I'm not saying he's like an MVP like Brock Purdy, but if he plays really well, it makes you less desperate to have to trade up 15 spots in the first round. You could say, okay, we like Jaren Hall. He can drive this car pretty well. He can find Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. So
I think they do like him. Like I think that they do. Like you keep in mind they have coached him and seen him in practice. Like I think coaching staffs make decisions off of that as well. Yeah. So like there's a lot that we have not seen that they either probably are yay or nay on already. But yeah, I mean this is going to be. I'll continue to say it. This year plus is one of the most interesting since I've started to cover this team because of these question marks and because of what your strategy is going to be. And then most importantly, because until they prove that they're not, we now have to assume that this team is structured to find a quarterback. Like in the Spielman years, this is the type of stuff that made me go, oh God, oh no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like this is this is the difference. If O'Connell can get his guy, at least the first one, we have to assume he's going to get it right.
And my only final point on this would be, you're always better off not needing to draft a quarterback, right? Like you're always, and the Vikings have kind of put themselves in a spot right now where the only quarterback Nick Mullins is under contract next year, but it's his cap. It's like $3 million, and you'd probably look to buy that out, or you'd look to cut him and save that money. Especially with Jaren Hall on your team, if Jaren Hall can be your backup.
But you can do that by keeping Kirk too.
I know, but what I'm saying right now is the only quarterback on your roster is Jaren Hall.
Right.
And I think Kirk wants to come back, but if the price doesn't match up, you might have a situation where you have to draft a quarterback in the first round, and I'm not super comfortable with that. So I'd like to know more about Jaren Hall in the next month in some form, if possible.
Well, I would just say this. I think they have probably a pretty good idea right now of what they think of him without him playing in a ton of games. Like for us, it would be nice because it's a look-see of, hey, you looked really good for a very brief time against the Falcons. Can that be extended? They've seen him through training camp now, and I think he's got potential. Like I don't think he's a complete like just bust. I think he's got potential, but I also think it's going to become a very interesting and dicey situation because of all of the contracts coming up and who you prioritize. And to Declan's point, I mean, if you're going to let Hunter walk, I think you got to draft a potential pass rushing option then in the first round, and that makes it more dicey.
Yeah. I think we should start doing this now that we're into December here, just like a playoff picture update. So we're going to do that right now before we get to a random Viking of the week, where we tell you sort of what the percentage chance is, where the tiebreakers sit, presented by our friends, Judd, over at Surly. Crack a beer for the stretch run here. Crack a Before I Die lager. Do it for us.
Are you talking about one of these? Because I've always got one nearby. Ladies and gentlemen, it can never be close enough. That's right. Right down here, I've got a Before I Die. You know why? Because it speaks to the mantra of this show. It speaks to the mantra of Vikings fans. Before I Die is all about a lifestyle in which before we pass away, before we go to the great beyond, we just want to see a Super Bowl title. Now, the nice thing is, Surly, a ton of offerings. They're fantastic. Absolutely great. Furious, Logic Bomb. I could go down a list, but you know what? Instead, head to your liquor store or your bar and see what they have from Surly, because it's going to be delicious. And of course, when you're sipping on a can of Surly, well, you know what we want to see. You show us your cans on Twitter, on X, at JZolgad, at Score North. You know, the quarterback situation might get dicey, but fortunately, because of Surly, the beer choices never do.
Yeah. I'm over on Prize Picks right now, too, just trying to see. So they do have Josh Dobbs posted right now that it's official as of Wednesday. So with Prize Picks, you can win up to 25 times your money this football season. You select 2 or more players, you pick more or less on their projected stats, and you place your entry. So, Judd, if it were you, would you go more or less on 230 and a half passing yards for Josh Dobbs?
Ooh, I'd go less.
That's such an interesting number. I mean,
It's
if
a really
Justin
good
Jefferson
number.
gets loose for a 45-yarder or something,
Right.
You know? So I think I'm feeling frisky. I think
All
the
right.
Raiders are, especially if Max Crosby, because he didn't practice yesterday. If Max Crosby's not playing, I don't think Josh Dobbs is going to be as panicked, so he can sit there and kind of go through his progressions. I'd probably take more on that. And with basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball. So you can go like, LeBron James and Travis Kelce for a 10.5 combo of 3 points made and reception. So it's awesome. Prize Picks also offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. PrizePicks.com/Purple Daily and use the code Purple Daily for a first deposit match up to $100. That's PrizePicks.com/Purple Daily with the code Purple Daily for a first deposit match up to $100. And okay, you heard her yelping earlier. I think she saw like just another dog walking by the window and she's trying to say hi. But Maya Mackey, it's almost time for lunch, and she loves her Nutrisource chicken and rice. Nutrisource, the official pet dog food of Purple Daily and Score North, boys.
Yeah, Stella had me up at, I think it was 7 a.m. today with that very look. And she was pawing at my covers and she said, get the hell up and get me my Nutrisource right now. Get me outside and get me a Nutrisource treat. And of course, I did that, much like Declan takes care of the Vinster.
Yep, Vinster does the same thing. It's holiday season, so he, like I said, that Christmas tree blocks the toy room, and if you just throw a Nutrisource treat into that closet, he will then willingly go in. But if there's no Nutrisource treats, he's not going in that closet. He needs a little treat to get in there.
Yeah, NutrisourcePetFoods.com. NutrisourcePetFoods.com. So here's the NFC playoff odds right now. In terms of percentage chance to make the playoffs, Eagles, Niners, Cowboys, and Lions are all 99%. So they're all pretty much in. Packers at 68% after rolling off a bunch of wins. Falcons at 60%. Vikings 49%. Rams 44%. So all those teams are logjam. There's a decent chance the NFC North could produce 3 playoff teams.
Yes,
How about that?
No, you're right.
The Vikings have a 6% chance still to win the division. So you're telling me there's a chance. But according to ESPN.com, less than 1% chance to make the Super Bowl. So not exactly.
So the Packers percentage is based on the fact that their schedule in the last, 5 games is easier. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe they have, by strength of schedule, the easiest schedule remaining.
But it doesn't with the Vikings, so that's good for the Vikings.
They play at the Giants, home against the Buccaneers, at the Panthers, at the Vikings, and against the Bears. There's a really good chance the Packers go 4-1 to get to 10-7, and then it might just come down to tiebreakers. Now, the good news for the Vikings right now is with the conference tiebreaker, which could factor in here. The Vikings are 6-3 in conference. Packers 4-3, Rams 4-4, Seahawks 5-4. Falcons are going to be in that conversation too if they fall out of their division lead. Like the Buccaneers could jump, but the Falcons are 4-4 in conference. So the Vikings have the best conference record of all the teams they're kind of, fighting with right now. But yeah, I mean, it's right now, if the playoffs started right now, Vikings are the 6th seed, Packers are the 7th seed. So right now, all three of those teams and the Lions, the NFC North teams would get into the playoffs, and the Vikings would be playing
Detroit, right?
Detroit in the first round. Packers would go to San Francisco,
which would be 3 games against Detroit in the span of what, a month?
Yeah,
less than a month, right?
Yes, crazy. So there you go. We'll keep you posted on that. Now I think it's a weekly thing. Now we need to dig through the percentages and the tiebreakers and see. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that are either 5-7 or 6-6 right now, fighting for really 3 spots because the NFC South is one of the spots, and then the two wild card spots. So we'll see what happens. Okay, are you guys ready for a random Viking of the week here?
Yes,
Let's do it.
Okay.
absolutely.
So all time, Judd with 62 wins, Declan with 30, I have 17. In the new era where we all compete against each other, Judd has 10, I'm tied with 10, Declan has 4 wins. Declan, by default, nailed Willie Offered because I rifled off 3 incorrect guesses last week.
Came
That's
out
why I'm
firing.
giving
I did respect that.
Willie Offered. Before that, Michael Jenkins, Emir Smith-Marset, Dwight Smith, and Robert Ferguson were the random Vikings. I'll give you guys a series of clues. You get up to 3 strikes or incorrect guesses, and if you hit that third one like I did last week, the other person wins by default. So be as aggressive as you want, but just know. All right. This random Viking of the week was a 2nd-round draft pick. This random Viking of the week was a 3-time All-Pro. Not Pro Bowler, but All-Pro.
Okay, I'm going to get the list up just to make, since it's so long.
Yeah, you can Control F search if you need to.
Yeah, I'm just doing the random Viking.
Okay. This random Viking once led the NFL in fumble recoveries, like in a season.
So 2nd-round pick.
This random Viking played in 2 Super Bowls.
I got a feeling I know what you're doing here. And I sort of appreciate it.
Or do I know that you think I'm going to do that, and so I'm being straightforward?
You just sort of gave away what I think you're doing. I think I figured out what you're doing.
No, you think you know what I'm doing, but I know that you think I am doing something. So I might just be being straightforward.
No, I think you tipped your hand. I'm going to tell you right now. I think you tipped your hand. I think it's I think you blinked. Yeah, I think you blinked. All right.
This random Viking. Where was I at here? Okay, this random Viking. I'll give you his size too, so you can narrow it down. 6'2", 222 pounds. This random Viking. I'll give you some of his family history. Earned a teaching degree in college. Well, Declan looks like he has a guess.
I don't think this guy played in Super Bowls.
Oh, Judd's onto something.
Well,
you just tipped him off there, but yeah.
In fact, this random Viking has a Super Bowl ring. So he played for more than just the Vikings, obviously.
Well, yeah, that's
an All-Pro.
Yeah, he played in 2 Super
All-Pro
Bowls.
part. The All-Pro part.
So wait, so Super Bowl ring.
Hmm?
All right.
Yep.
Sorry, I was
you're
asking
good.
myself.
You're good.
I'm not talking to myself during this.
This random Viking rushed for 1,844 yards in his career, but had 14 rushing touchdowns. Maybe I don't know if I need to say but that seems like a lot of rushing touchdowns compared to the yardage. Maybe not. I don't know.
All right. Well,
We've
all
done
right.
that guy.
So he had 14 rushing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. What's funny though is, let me find this. Let's see here. Well, I'll give you this one. This random Viking has 374,000 followers on Instagram.
How many followers?
374,000.
And how many yards did he rush for?
1,844.
Oh my god.
Second round pick.
Oh my god.
Instagram.
Yeah, he had 14 rushing touchdowns in the NFL. Only one rushing touchdown in college. Just looking that up. It's a little surprising.
Who is this?
His last post on Instagram is it's about the death of Bob Knight. Said, I never particularly liked being chewed out, whether it was any coach, parents or any coach, but I understood it. I think we need more of that Bobby Knight today. Need more chewing out.
All right.
Chew their asses.
This
asses.
So
Oh
this
my
guy,
God.
this guy.
The pained look on Declan's face right now. Great.
Well, I'm trying to narrow down positions here.
I think I got the position. I just
What
don't
position do you
know
think it is?
Who the hell it is?
I'm not saying nothing.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm not tipping off anyone. This is nope.
Super
Okay.
Bowl ring. Super Bowl ring.
This random Viking. I'm trying to think where I want to go here for you guys.
Yeah, no, you're doing good. I love
Where's
this.
my clues? This random Viking
What am I doing?
is part French ancestry, it says. Part French ancestry. What's funny about I gave you the NFL rushing yards, 1,844. In college, this random Viking rushed for negative 89 yards.
Yeah.
193 attempts for negative 89 yards, an average of negative half yard per carry.
Okay, I think yep.
That's pretty crazy.
Yep.
After a win in college, the opposing coach was once quoted as saying, about this player, you can call it a miracle or a legend or whatever you want to. I just know that on that day, blank was larger than life.
All right. That clue didn't help me, but I want to take a guess here.
Here we go. This is
This
Declan's
is the only
first
one I
guess
have.
in
Go.
several weeks.
Go. Do it.
Randall Cunningham. It's the only guy I can think of here.
It is not Randall Cunningham. That's a good guess, though. I mean, it's a good guess. Have we done Cunningham?
I don't think so.
Let's see
He's
here.
not on my spreadsheet.
No, add him to the list, man. We have not done Randall Cunningham yet.
Isn't? Oh my god.
Maybe I'll do him next time.
Snuck in as
So
a-
but he's an all-pro. This
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
an all-pro. Okay, and I'm
Yep.
not saying.
This
Cunningham
random
wasn't, I'm just
this random
talking to
Viking
myself. Yep.
was also
Yep.
an 11-time Pro Bowler.
No, this guy's not. Can't be him.
He's a really good player. Really good player. Probably would have been drafted higher than the second round in retrospect, with 11 Pro Bowls. This random
oh my
Viking.
god. Oh my god. Brett Favre.
Yeah, the gunslinger. The gunslinger.
Oh my God.
I was surprised. I thought he was more of a
Teaching
running
degree?
quarterback at Southern Miss. Yeah, with an emphasis in special education. So he was, his parents were both teachers.
I had
Back-to-back wins for the Dexter.
Oh boy,
Let's
good
go,
job,
dude.
Declan.
Let's go.
I knew it was quarterback early. I was like, who the hell is this? I'm sure there's probably people in our YouTube comments section be like, it was Brett Favre very early.
I'm never.
All
a bunch of videos.
You know what my problem is? I'm never think like I'm like who's a like a really
You're
good
thinking
player?
super obscure, right?
Yeah,
But
I'm
there's a
thinking
lot,
more
dude. There's a
obscure,
lot
yeah.
of big name Vikings we have not done in Random Viking.
Yeah.
So there it is. Nice job, Declan, with the victory right there. You know. Speaking of Brett, boy, Brett's had a couple injuries in his career. Brett's had some doozies in his career. Maybe if Summit Orthopedics was more available. I don't know. How far back does Summit Orthopedics go? I don't know if they have any near Green Bay, Wisconsin, but here in the Twin Cities, 25 locations of Summit Orthopedics. And it doesn't matter what type of pain you're dealing with, they can help you. No referrals are needed. They offer same-day appointments. If you're really hurting, they also offer walk-in orthopedic urgent care 7 days a week from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. You can learn more at summitortho.com. That is summitortho.com.
The rushing yard thing is because sacks are counted as negative rushing yards in college.
So he'd scramble around and just get smoked.
get sacked. Yep.
I knew this was a quarterback. I just could not. God, that was painful. It was painful.
You know, old Brett might have had a dirty jersey once in a while. He's probably dragging stuff into his home with his dirty cleats too. That's where Zero Res can come in. So make sure your home is ready for the holiday gatherings. Make sure the carpet, which, come on, why don't you get down there and actually smell that disgusting living room carpet?
Yeah,
That's where Zero Res comes in with a 4.9 out of 5-star rating on Google with over 17,000 reviews. So here's what you can do. You can go to zeroresminnesota.com or 952-0res and say you want the Score North special to get 3 rooms zero resified starting at just $129. 952-0res or zeroresminnesota.com. Spell it forward or backwards. It spells the same. Zero Res. Make sure you ask for the Score North special specifically. So, yeah, Brett Favre. Man, it's funny. Like, Brett Favre, I swore that we had done him, but I control F'd multiple times. And we have not done Brett Favre.
Wow.
We've done T-Jack, Matt Castle, Rich Gannon.
Yeah.
All these names popped in my head during this. I was like,
John David Booty.
this guy. Is it this guy?
Jeff George, we've done. Christian Ponder, so many quarterbacks.
Bad
Brad
Brad.
Johnson.
Jeff George.
Bubby Brister was one at one point. So there you go, boys. There's your Random Viking of the week here on Purple Daily. It's daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.